Normally when a team sends out a coach rather than a player, there's an admission that things haven't gone quite right. Is that what's happened right now?
Long day at the field.
Yeah, it's a tough day for the guys. Obviously, it's Test cricket. Under that sunshine, it was incredibly difficult. So I think there was optimism in the way we started with Stark and Hazelwood. That was a really good partnership to put together a total that obviously, considering the rest of how the match had played out, was a challenging one. But under those conditions, Markram and Bavuma were exceptional and were able just to, I suppose, navigate their way through any tricky situations and then be able to put pressure back on us when it was opportune time. So it was a pretty benign wicket, and obviously conditions weren't assisting the ball, but that partnership was exceptional.
Dan, what's the mood like in the rooms after a day like that? Is there still belief that the team can do something special tomorrow?
I think we understand the magnitude of the task, that it's 8 for 70 or whatever it is incredibly tricky, and conditions would have to go away. But I think with the nature of where the ball is at and the surface, it's a difficult task. But it is a task that the group has probably done at times throughout the last 3, 4, some of them 5, 6, even longer years. But I think there's an appreciation of how well Bavuma and Markram batted to put all that pressure back on us. So to get one of them tonight may have given that optimism. So it's going to be a real challenge tomorrow.
Did conditions change significantly today, or was it the fact it was a nice sunny day as opposed to the bit of cloud that was around on the first couple of days at times?
I think it is the cloud cover. I saw KG's interview after they came off, and he mentioned the same sort of thing, soft ball conditions. The wicket is slow, and you've seen throughout the course of the game that boundaries are probably lower than what we've expected in previous Test matches here. So it is difficult. It has been difficult batting. Difficult scoring. But I think South Africa today made the most of those conditions, but also, like I've said a couple of times, exceptional partnership, navigated any tricky times, and then were able to put pressure back on us through their running, through their ability to dissect the field. It was a real clinic from those two.
Dan, of all the teams in world cricket that have, I guess, difficulty getting over the line, I suppose South Africa are renowned for it. I mean, to what extent does your knowledge of what they know about themselves play into your hands tomorrow?
Look, I think it's always difficult to label tags to teams because teams change, and there's a change of personnel, and it's difficult to assign that to a group that hasn't been in this situation in terms of a World Test Championship final. So I think the hope for us is that we can get a wicket or two in the morning and just see what that looks like. But 8 for 70 is a real challenge for the group.
Dan, it was obviously a pretty sort of sickening sight, Steve's finger. Can you just, I suppose, talk through where things are at with him? And
give it to Cole.
Is he back? Is he back from hospital?
No,
we don't have any further updates as of right now. And just about I suppose the period yesterday when you started second innings with a decent lead, like, is there anything to assess from that in terms of anything your guys could have done differently, or is it more credit to KG?
I think it's both, and Geedy's spell as well, to put that pressure back on. Obviously, the crucial wicket of Smith early on, but it was really good bowling by them, and to be able to put that pressure on after a reasonable start, navigating through the opening spell, 20 for none. You hope that things start to get easier and easier, but I think at no stage did South Africa let up with their bowling performance, and that put all the pressure back on us. And we were fortunate with Stark and Kerry last night to get a bit of impetus back to us, and then again this morning. So 280 in the context of the game, like I said before, there was some optimism, but it's obviously going to be a real challenge tomorrow.
Dan, just run chases in Test cricket for the modern day batters, is it just part of their psyche because they do it so often in other formats, like as compared to say your era, that they just have that kind of attitude and approach?
I hadn't thought about that, but I'm sure that plays a part. And because a lot of Test cricket is in fast forward in a lot of ways in terms of the way the game's played now, and the fact that day 3, day 4 results are relatively common. To be put in this situation is still not easy. I think any time you're chasing the highest score in the fourth innings and 280 puts a lot of pressure on a team, but the composure that those two showed throughout it, I think could be a credit to that, but it's probably a credit to them in the situation and understanding what's required.
Dan, you said that the pitch was pretty benign. Do you think bowlers could have maybe varied things up, cutters, yorkers, bounces, just avoid that same consistent hard length that they kind of hit?
I think, you look at someone like Mitch Stark, he does that naturally in his ability to change his length and potentially swing the ball both ways. I think the success that's come from the surface has been that 6 to 8 metre length. That's what South Africa did so well. That's what we did in the first innings. So there's sometimes an appetite for that, but there's also a concern around the score running away from us. And sometimes when you go to that short ball stuff, it's hard to control the scoreboard, and that was probably our fear today, that if we could hang in those areas long enough, something would happen, like it has in the rest of the Test match, but it wasn't to be.
Dan, the fact that you bowled, you wrapped South Africa's tail up so quickly, 5 for 12 in the first innings, does that sort of lead into your messaging for the bowling group now?
I think there'll be no desire to get ahead of ourselves. I think it's one wicket. That's the starting point, and because these two are in such control, if we can get a new batsman to the crease, then that's the start of it. So I don't think there'll be any thinking around how to get 8 dismissals. It'll be simply about getting one and seeing what can happen from there.
Dan, the compound fracture's a pretty sickening sort of side, I guess. Was it? Was it were you in the dressing room when Steve came back in, and was he in a lot of pain, and was it a nasty sort of?
He never made it to the dressing room. I think the doc and physio got him and took him into there's a separate room there. So they had to deal with that. So we weren't really up to speed in terms of how gruesome the injury was. We just heard that obviously there was a fear of the compound fracture or dislocation, something of that nature. There weren't too many people running to the physio room to go and have a look. So I think we'll just wait and see what comes back after he gets back from hospital, and then everyone will be able to update from there.
Dan, did the guys say anything about the ball change just before stumps there as they were coming off? It looked like they were trying to get changed for a few overs.
It just out of shape. So simple as that. I think they said it was the new ball was slightly harder, but probably pretty consistent with the one that they'd used up until that point. So there wasn't, there was no drama in it at all.
Dan, how surprising was the shift in conditions, given those 28 wickets across 2 days to start and then just 4 today?
I think that's the nature of a Lord's surface, as it gets multiple rollers on it through the change of innings, the sun out, all those little things. I think anyone who's followed cricket at Lords or even county cricket all around England, that the overhead conditions can play such a huge part. So that obviously happened today, but I don't think the group's sitting there wishing for overhead conditions. I think there's an appreciation of how well those two batted and what we can do to try and break that partnership tomorrow. So it was obviously flat out there, but we got the benefits of the flatness as well when we batted, and we were able to navigate a score. So same for both sides.